Muy buenas noches a todos. Estoy muy emocionada con este cierre. Em, Muchas gracias a todos los que han estado con nosotros los 2 días, que nos han estado acompañando, que han estado muy partícipes en todas las sesiones. Y les tenemos como cierre la cereza del pastel. Hoy nos acompaña Mike Tiruman, nos acompaña desde Singapur. Es un honor y un placer tenerlo a él hoy acá. Espero que tengan sus iPads y sus notas para tomar apuntes y aprender muchísimo. So, as I was saying, Mike, we are very happy to have you as our closing speaker. We are very grateful and honored to have you here. And I was telling everyone to have their iPads ready to take notes or pen and paper, because I am absolutely sure we're going to be learning tons and tons from you. So thank you very much on behalf of how many countries we said? 13 countries that are here today.
Right, 13 countries.
13 countries in Latin America, of teachers and leaders that are working really hard to improve and have better education for our children. So, Mike, thank you very much. The audience is yours.
Okay, so I can share screen now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Hi, good evening. Can you guys hear me? Good?
Perfect. Great.
Okay, I'm great to meet all of you online. I'm excited to do this session. It's actually 15th of March in Singapore already. It's about 9:30 a.m. in Singapore. So, but again, I appreciate that all of you are waiting up so late. It's already 8 something or 9 something for most of you on the 14th evening. But thank you very much for joining this session, and I'm delighted to present today. Today, I'm going to talk about durable skills, right? Essentially to wrap up some things that we talked about, you've been talking about in terms of technology, but beyond technology, the core skills that are needed that will enhance our use of technology, right? And I'm going to share with you Singapore's framework on how we anticipate using these skills vis-a-vis technology as well, right? But before I go there, let me share with you PISA results. I'm sure you're familiar with these results. You've seen this. This was released in December last year. It's a 2022 PISA. Our 15-year-olds took part in it. The top performing countries: Singapore, Japan, Korea, Estonia, Switzerland. Right, but you can see where the Latin American countries are performing. This is a test of mathematics, literacy, and science for 15-year-olds. That means they have been in our education system for about 9 years, right, in the general education system. And this is how they stand out in an international benchmarking test. What's particularly interesting about PISA is because it tests not just content skills, but creative, critical thinking skills, the ability to analyze and apply what students have learned to new areas, okay, novel application. And this is where the students are performing. The good news, as far as Latin America is concerned, if you can see at the bottom on the right-hand part of the screen, the scores have been improving over a 10-year period, right? Peru, for example, has 26 to 38 point increase since 10 years ago, right? So there has been remarkable progress made by Latin American countries in terms of PISA testing. Okay, so this is something that we should appreciate. We all can start somewhere, even if it's low does not matter, but we need to keep improving. Okay? That's the focus. And over the past 10 years or so, Latin American countries have been improving generally, right? How do we then improve the skills of our students? Okay? I'm going to share with you, purely sharing purposes, right? What Singapore does and the way Singapore looks at its education system and educating young people for the future. Okay? Let me share with you. This is the 16 essential skills and literacies and competencies and dispositions that the World Economic Forum put out about 10 years ago. Okay. On the left-hand column, you can see numeracy literacy, which is common, right? You can also see ICT literacy, which you must be going through for the last 2 days now. Okay. Financial literacy, cultural and civic literacy. Okay. These are content knowledge which we hope to develop in our students. Okay. But more fundamentally, the competencies, the skills, some things that we call in terms of durable skills, critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication skills, and collaboration skills. Okay. These are harder to develop, and you need more time to develop in the classroom. It's not as easy as learning content. Okay. The one on the right, it's even more difficult because these are dispositions, not skills per se. It's something we learn over a long period of time, and it becomes a habit, right? In terms of curiosity, initiative, persistence, adaptability, leadership, social and cultural awareness. This framework is by the World Economic Forum. Okay? Let's see what Singapore has done in terms of its focused effort to develop 21st century competencies. Okay? So this is Singapore's framework for developing 21st century competencies. At the end of 12 years of education in the Singapore education system, we want the students to have 4 things. 4 student outcome. Okay? Confident person, a person who's full of zest for life and strong sense of right and wrong, who's resilient, okay, and who is able to see what is out there and discern for himself. Okay? Self-directed learner, a student who is motivated and learns on his own, curious and perseveres to find things out on their own and keeps on learning. It's a purpose-driven kind of concept. Okay? Next is a concerned citizen. Okay? Students who are rooted in Singapore, okay, who have a strong civic consciousness and are responsible to their family, community, and nation, and take active role to improving the lives of others. And the 4th element is active contributor. People who are empathetic and open-minded, who are willing to collaborate with others and exercise initiative and have innovativeness and always striving for excellence. How do we achieve this? Right? If you can see, we sort of call this 3 circles, okay? Like a Swiss roll. At the center of it are the core values. Around it are social emotional learning aspects. And then we talk about the critical and durable skills. Okay? First, let's look at the core values. Okay? In Singapore, I think the basic premise that we start with is that a student must ensure that he respects himself and others. So this notion of respect, core values is something that we think anchors our behavior, that roots us, right? Responsibility recognizes that they have a duty for themselves, their families, and others. Resilience, I think we saw this during the COVID period, right? How as a global community, we survived a pandemic. We were resilient and survived a pandemic, right? So ability to demonstrate emotional strength and persevere in the face of challenges. I think that would be critical going forward, because as our students move forward, they are going to face enormous challenges that are going to be complex and something that they may not have been prepared for. Right? They are supposed to have integrity, right? They should care for others, and they must ensure that they promote social cohesion. Social emotional learning. Once you have these core values settled, right, then the students need to know more about themselves and others and how they relate to others. Right? Being aware of self and how they manage their own behavior would be important. Right? This is fundamental, so that once we understand self, it will be easier for us to appreciate others, right? To be able to make responsible decisions, having a sense of social awareness. Right? What's happening around us? How are people thinking? How are people behaving? Okay? What affects them? What impacts them? In terms of relationship management, this will come in handy. Then we move on. Once we have sort of established the core values, we give a framework in terms of social emotional competencies for students to know themselves and others. Right? So these are essentially what we call self and people skills, the social emotional competency, self and people skills. Right? Then we talk about cognitive abilities. We go into the durable skills. First line, I think we are all very familiar with: critical thinking, ability to analyze information, evaluate evidences, make informed decisions. How would critical thinking be important in view of technology? Most of us use technology. Most of us get our information now from the internet. Actually, I don't know anybody who does not get information from the internet anymore, right? So we all get information from the internet, but internet information is unfiltered information, right? Unfiltered. That means anybody who wants to put up anything out in the open, they can do so. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. If you have an opinion, you just put it up. And if you present the opinion as a fact, and if the students cannot evaluate evidences and make informed decisions, they might think that your opinion is a fact, and they might believe it. Okay? It's even more critical now with generative AI. Okay. How many of you have used ChatGPT? Yes. Oh, I think all of us are getting into it. It's so easy, right? ChatGPT, it's out there. It's easy to use. But is it always accurate? Is it always up to date? Is it ethical? Does it have a moral conscience in terms of deciding the way it writes things out for you? Okay? Some of us are getting better at it because we adapt, right? So the other key element is about adaptive thinking. How crucial it is for our students to learn new things. Right? When I first used ChatGPT, my prompts were very simple, right? But now as I adapt and learn how ChatGPT thinks and produces information, I give it better prompts, clearer prompts, and prompts the way I think, right? So that my thinking and my perspectives are incorporated in the way ChatGPT produces a response. Right? Be flexible and open-minded. At the end of the day, we want our students to be flexible and open-minded and to embrace. I think the key part is to embrace uncertainty. Right? We are all creatures of habit. We like to remain in our comfort zone. Okay, but guess what? every day that comfort zone is becoming uncomfortable. Right? If you want to remain in your comfort zone, then it's going to be a very, very, very small zone. And only you will be in it. Nobody else. Right? So if you want our students to survive and thrive in the world in the future, they must embrace change and be able to move beyond their comfort zone, make their uncomfortable areas their comfort areas. That means they need to learn and grow and face challenges and feel uncomfortable for a while, right? So this is what I think Jean Piaget, the cognitive psychologist, developmental psychologist, called cognitive dissonance, right? Something that does not quite match with your current thinking, allows you to stretch your thinking, right? Learn new things and improve, right? The constructivists would call it sort of a zone of proximal development, right? Areas that we can reach out and learn. The other key aspect is inventive thinking. Why is inventive thinking going to be important? Because algorithmic routine thinking can be done by technology already. Okay, and generative AI has even gone beyond routine cognitive processes. Right? It has become creative, it has become flexible, right? You enter a prompt, it changes its response. You enter another prompt, it updates its responses. You enter another prompt, it refines its responses, right? So Gen AI has become very flexible and adaptive, and is becoming creative and more and more creative. Okay? Then, as humans, where do we stand? Our 15-year-olds, your 15-year-old student in your classroom, when he leaves the classroom, where is he going to be? How is he going to survive in this age of exponential generative AI growth? 2 years ago, very few people were interested in using Gen AI because it churned out nonsense, right? But now, almost everybody is using it. Okay, and generative AI has become the go-to place, right? So even your search engines, your big technology players, Microsoft has the Copilot, right? Google has Gemini, and then obviously ChatGPT is in there, right? And even Apple is thinking about it. It's obviously developing something, but Apple being Apple, it will release when it's sure to capture the market, okay? But everybody's in it, right? If you're not in the market, you're going to lose out technology-wise, okay? So this ability to inventive thinking is going to be critical. Next set of skills are communication, collaboration skills. Okay? This is where I think it's going to be even more fundamental for us to be human and be able to collaborate with one another. This relationship building, understanding the nuances of different people, of different cultures, and able to work and communicate well. Because at the end of the day, if your students are brilliant and they are unable to communicate, they will lose out. Nobody's going to understand what they are talking about, and their ideas will not catch on. Okay? The next set of skills will be, you talked about it, information skills. Okay? I will not go there because I think you spent 2 days talking about information skills, right? But collaboration skills and communication skills will be essential as we start to collaborate, not just in our district, not just in our city, not just in our country, but globally. Okay? Just take this webinar, for example. I'm in Singapore talking to teachers and educators from the other part of the world. right? Who has not even entered my time zone yet, right? So this is where we are. Next set, this is going to be a lot more important. And in Singapore's perspective, this is where we are focusing more and more. Okay? This idea of civic literacy for students to understand what is right, what is their responsibility as citizens, how do they engage and participate, how do they appreciate diversity, right? Being inclusive, right? For students to understand this diversity and being inclusive in their endeavors. This idea of global literacy in this interconnected world, global literacy talks about understanding global issues, cultures, and interdependencies. Yeah. Recently, as an example, grade 5 onwards in Singapore, they talked about the Israel-Hamas conflict, right? The Israel-Palestine conflict. Israel and Palestine are way far from Singapore, right? But what happens in any part of the world now affects us in Singapore, right? So does the Israel-Palestine conflict. And you know, this is a contentious issue. It's a very complex issue. There are different perspectives, different agendas, right? For teachers to bring this into the class, to have a discussion. It requires teachers to have certain pedagogical skills, but also for students to then understand that different people see the same issue differently. So this is idea of global and cross-cultural literacy. So this is our framework that we have done. Okay, I'm going to end with what I call the 8 Ps, right? Navigating for the future. As teachers, as educators, what can we give our students? What can we teach our students? What can we develop in our students? What can we nurture in our students so that they are able to navigate their future, right? It's not enough that we give content, because content changes all the time, as you know. We need to give them a toolkit that involves skills and mindsets that will prepare them to encounter any challenge that they might face, and to embrace this uncertainty. I call this the 8 Ps. So oblige me just very quickly. What is the purpose? Okay. As a teacher, what is your purpose in educating the 15-year-olds, your students? Okay. Your purpose is to ensure that they are future ready, that they need to have the skills and dispositions that will allow them to thrive in an uncertain, volatile future. Okay. So the students themselves must have a sense of purpose. Okay. Purpose is like your compass, right? What is your true north? It tells you where the true north is. So purpose is why you exist and why you do what you do. Principles are like values, like your anchors, right? It anchors you, it grounds you, it gives you a stable backbone to decide what is wrong, what is right, okay, and how you pursue your purpose. Okay? Ethics, essentially, principles are ethics and values. Philosophy is the way we see the world. Okay? How do we approach one another? How do we behave in an environment? What do we overall think life should be like? Should it be all work? Should it be striving for money, striving for peace, striving for harmony? What is the philosophy that you have in life. Passion. This is something that we cannot give them, but they need to find themselves. Our students need to find this passion. What drives them? What gives, this fire in the belly, where they wake up every morning and get excited to do something that is purposeful, that is anchored on principles, right? That motivates them, this energy that they have in doing what they do. Okay? And if your students are passionate about some things, they will generally excel because they will have certain core values surrounding it. And this drive allows them to do two things: connect with people, okay? Have relationship with people, pull together people who can achieve their purpose, and these processes. Processes is like habits, things that you do every day, day in, day out, to become better. You keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, and then it becomes second nature to you. Okay? And we all know to form habit, it takes time, right? But you have a habit, and we say your habit then becomes your character. Right? Your habit becomes your character. Okay? So what is it that you do every day, day in, day out? This sense of discipline to do things again and again and again until you become better. Okay? What is your routine? Daily routine. Do you wake up at 5 a.m. or do you wake up at 10 a.m.? Makes a world of difference, right? So what is your routine, daily routine? How do you then become better? You change your routine, right? Persistence is that sense of discipline to go at it all the time, right? And never to give up. Okay, persistence, resilience, adaptability goes together in my mind. And persistence is something where you say, this is something I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep doing it until I get it. And not give up in the face of adversity, in the face of challenges. Okay? The last bit is something I like. Play. Okay? You may be wondering, why play? Right? Play gives us a sense of balance. Play gives us a sense of harmony. Play gives us a sense of creativity, right? When you play, you do it for joy. I think that's the key. Doing something for joy, that you enjoy doing it. It's not because somebody tells you to do, right? It's from within, you enjoy. So if I see what I do at work as play, will I be talking about work-life harmony? No, I mean, I'm playing. I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's joyous. What I do gives me joy. Okay? And nobody has to persuade me to say, oh, you know what? Please try harder. Or please do it a bit longer. You don't have to. If I'm enjoying myself, I'll do it. Right? So this sense of joy, this sense of creativity, this sense of balance, this sense of harmony, I think this notion of play imbues in us these ideas. And if we can give our students, as they grow older, because when we become adults, when we are children, we play a lot. But when we become adults, we think play is for children. Guess what? Play is for adult. Play is for everybody, right? And if our students are going to thrive in the future, they need to know and keep on playing, right? So with that, I think I will end my discussion, right? But bear in mind, all this now revolves around the exponential growth of technology. Okay, all the skills that I talked about that our students will need, core competencies, because I think their world is going to be very different from ours. Right? I cannot even imagine how it's going to be transformed. Our jobs as teachers are going to be transformed. This idea of generative AI and machine learning and robotics is going to exponentially transform the world. And as a parent, I will maybe conclude with this. I have 3 sons, 22, 20, and 15. Okay. And I'm wondering, with all these things that technology can do, right? If I want to write a paper, simple thing. If I wanted to write a paper, I'll go ChatGPT, I'll go to Gemini, I'll go to Copilot to generate something. The image that you see on the left, the compass, the anchor, the map, was from Copilot Designer. Right? I just gave it a few more things, and then it inserted this arm of a shirt. Can you see this arm of the shirt? Right? That's the captain. Right? That's the captain using his tools to navigate the future. Right? So with all these changes in AI, what is it that my sons can do so that they can survive, so that they can be better than technology? Right? And because, employers, simple, am I going to hire a human or am I going to hire a machine? It's easy to hire a machine. Actually, not hire, buy a machine and get it done. Right? It doesn't go on sick leave. It doesn't say, I need to attend to this. I need to attend to this. It can work 24/7. Right? Now with Gen AI, it's beginning to think like us slowly. And it's improving very fast, very rapidly. Then what do my 3 sons do? How are they going to compete in this world? How are they going to thrive in this world? So hopefully these 8 Ps will help them, right? That they have a sense of purpose, they're anchored, they have a way they see things, that they're passionate about things, right? And they connect with people and they have certain routines and they're persistent and don't forget to play. And if they bring all these things in to their world, their future, I think they will be able to navigate it as we have done in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Absolutely inspiring. There are some claps out there.
Thank you.
And we have a couple of questions in the chat. So anyone that has any question, just go ahead and type it really fast. And I'll just read these couple of questions for Mike. Domenica says, why is it still relevant to use evidence-based data, such as PISA results, to make decisions regarding educational policies that will promote durable skills, particularly in countries that perform below average?
Personally, I think we don't have to make education policies based on PISA per se.
Okay.
Right? At best, PISA is a benchmarking exercise. For us, we need to decide, is what PISA measures important to us? Right? If it's important, then we use PISA results as a benchmark for decision-making, policy-making, right? But if it's not, then we can use something else. Okay? But at the end of the day, we need to measure ourselves and be accountable, in my mind, right? Then come up with different ways to measure, right? PISA, at the end of the day, is still test, pen and paper. As much as it can measure creativity and critical thinking, it cannot measure the whole gamut of critical and creative thinking, right? So we need other things to supplement, to complement PISA data. Right? Nobody, in my mind, should decide education policy purely on PISA. But PISA can be one of the instruments, benchmarks that we use, and then collectively decide as a nation where we are headed. Okay, but I must say, maybe 20 years ago, it was more national agendas. in terms of improving students and learning outcomes. But now it's a global agenda. Yeah, it's a global agenda because we are all in this world together. Our students are going to move into a global environment, right? So that's where we need to be concerned about what do others know and do my students know this? Yeah.
Here's a question that I think sums one of our biggest concerns, and it says, I'm curious about something. Why do you think some educators or school leaders reject the use of technology despite its potential to foster students' durable skills in today's world? I'm not sure that happens in Singapore, but here it's very common.
It happens a lot of places. Fear of the unknown. Okay, it's something you don't know how to manage. You won't bring it in, right? So essentially, you must learn how to manage it or know how to manage it. Then you're comfortable about bringing it in. But at the moment, it seems like people are not comfortable on how to manage. But my take is technology in itself, it's not right or wrong. Technology itself doesn't decide, right? It's we as educators and we as humans who decide, right? And my take is, I have an iPhone with me all the time, and my students, my sons all have it. You cannot remove the teenagers from their phones, right? We are just bluffing ourselves if we think we are, right? So if the students are sitting in their classroom without the technology with them, they are thinking about the technology and not about your lesson, right? They're not paying attention because they want to know who's in the Insta, who did they follow, who did they not follow, who's on Twitter, who's on Facebook, whatever, right? Snapchat. So might as well bring it in, teach our students on responsible use of technology. Okay, even generative AI, even using ChatGPT, let's not fear it. Let's say, how can we then use it? What is the right way to use it? What is unacceptable? How do we analyze this? Because at the end of the day, when the students go into the workplace, all this technology is going to be there, right? And if we are preparing our students for their future, then shouldn't they learn how to use them now?
Yeah.
Right? That's my take.
One last question, and we'll let you go. Leonardo asks, how can we measure or assess the impact of these values and competencies in an educational environment?
Education is a lifelong process, right? But we can assess it through small acts, not through the way the students share their thinking, but in the way they behave, right? When I'm walking down the aisle, if I see somebody who needs help, do I stop to help? Right? So that would show the value of care and concern, right? If somebody's sharing an opinion, do I interrupt them? Right? Respecting other people's opinion. So there are behaviors that exemplify, that demonstrate that we have these values, and we should identify these behaviors and look out for them. Okay? So it's not as easy as a pen and pencil test or pen and paper test, but there are behaviors that we can identify and say, yes, these students have these values, and if they consistently behave that way, then it's their habit, then it's them, it's their character. Habit is character.
Well, Mike, thank you very, very much. I've been taking notes. I think this is going to enrich me not only in my professional world, but also as a mother. My daughter is 22, and I'm always like with those concerns and thinking like, oh my God. And those P's you mentioned, I'm like, I'm good at these. I need to work on these to help my daughter also thrive, which I think is our biggest concern as well. So Thank you very much. It's been an amazing closure for us. Couldn't have been better. It's the perfect closing session. People are still clapping. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
And
Okay,
you're always welcome in Latin America whenever you want to come and visit.
yes, yes, I shall. In July, August, I'm going to Argentina, so I shall try
Stop
and
by,
get in.
by
Yeah,
Colombia.
yeah, will do.
Okay. Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
great evening.
You have a great day.
Thank you.
Listo, muchísimas gracias. Pero queremos terminar con una invitación a seguir unidos, a seguir participando, que este sea un inicio de esta comunidad que se ha conectado, que ha estado participando. Sabemos la hora que es y todavía hay gente conectada y los invitamos a que regresen, vean los videos y sigamos compartiendo y construyendo entre todos.
Así es, Cristi. También queremos
Queremos
invitarlos
invitar
a que no se pierdan, de que puedan efectivamente revisar todo lo que tenemos en Apple Professional Learning Specialist, ¿sí? Que puedan mirar, ahí van a tener prácticas, recursos útiles, algunas sesiones en vivo, así que los esperamos, no queremos dejar esto acá, queremos que sigamos en contacto, tanto a través de este link que dejamos en pantalla, como también próximamente, ¿no? Queremos soñar y poder concretar un Conecta 2025, probablemente con muchos más países que estén invitados y que puedan llegar a este espacio, así que los dejamos desde ya bien invitados a poder participar del próximo Conecta del 2025.
También queremos aprovechar la oportunidad para anunciarles que lo que vieron en la apertura del primer día con John Coripo, bueno, pues nos enorgullece acá en México. Anunciarles que pronto saldrá el libro ya por fin en español de EduProtocolos, sí en español, traducido por nosotros. Y bueno, pues espérenlo por favor muy, muy pronto. Un par de cosas más. Una, pues por favor, invitarles a que nos ayuden llenando la encuesta. La última encuesta de este evento es el mismo QR. Ustedes saben que escogen la sesión y saben que es corta, ¿no? Muy, muy corta. Por favor, ayúdenos con eso. Solamente para poder mejorar y que el Conecta 2025 sea 1000 veces mejor. Muy bien. Excelente, un poquito más de tiempo, nada más para que lo vean, lo escaneen, vayan, toda la cosa. Y pues dejo el micrófono a Bernardo, que nos va a dar una rápida despedida y unos últimos detalles.
Sí, bueno, sin más que agradecer a todas las personas que se han conectado. De hecho, tenemos los números para poder cerrar con bambalinas este proceso donde han habido más de 470 personas que se han podido registrar y 321 personas que han pasado por las distintas salas, las cuales se han podido tocar diversos temas relativos a las durable skills, a casos de éxito, diversas también conferencias magistrales. Han habido personas desde Ecuador, desde Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, los Estados Unidos, Bolivia, Brasil, Panamá, Puerto Rico, España y efectivamente México también, ¿no? Así que les damos un caluroso aplauso para todos a la hora en la cual se encuentren y los esperamos en el próximo Conecta 2025.
Pues eso es todo, se ha terminado. Nos vemos, tengan una excelente noche. Vayan, duerman, porque eso también ayuda a asimilar los conocimientos. Y nos estaremos viendo en todos los esfuerzos de APL y de los canales aquí representados. Chao, chao.
Chao,
Chao.
un abrazo muy grande para
Bye.
todos.
Gracias a todos.